Number 4 is this. We need to have a carefully defined plan for producing specific results. How many of you know Jesus was intentional? There was nothing he did accidental. When he sent the disciples out, he sent them out with intentionality and with order. He sent them out 2 by 2. There was a plan. There was a method to what other might think was his madness. There was a reason that Jesus prayed, God, I have brought you glory on earth by finishing the work you gave me to do. When we serve the mission and the value of what God has laid in front of us, we can move heaven and earth. We want to develop people. You probably know that our goal as a church is to love God, to love people, and to change the world. And when we do those things with intentionality, that's when leadership happens. The 5th thing is this: apply accurate measurements and standards of success to their work. Then we have to have a healthy balance between results and relationships. Any of you task-oriented people, like you just want to get the job done, like get it done as quickly as you can. In my early years of ministry, I was in my early 20s working at a church in Canada, a big church. Had a large foyer, and there were many Sunday mornings that I would be on a mission, and I'd be walking from one side of the foyer all the way to the other to get to my office, and I might even be doing something that the pastor asked me to do. Like I was on a mission. I had something that had to be done, but I didn't realize that when I was on that mission, I was actually ignoring the most important thing, and that was the people that were all around me. And I'll never forget when my pastor had to pull me into his office and say, I know you are trying to get this done. I know you're even doing things I've asked you to do, but you have to stop. You have to look around. You have to talk to all of the people, because that mission you're on to do, it's to serve the people that you're ignoring to get it done. And so we have to have this balance between results and relationship. And one of the things I want to encourage you to do is to begin to examine how are you measuring your life? What is your standard of success? We all have goals. We all have things that we're working towards. But to you, what does success look like? What is the measuring tape that you are using to decide whether or not you've had a good day, a good week, a good month, a good year? How many of you have seen the movie Mary Poppins? And you remember her measuring tape? Remember how she had the measuring tape and she measured the little rotten boy? And the measuring tape she pulled out, and he was extremely stubborn and suspicious. I love that. Don't you wish you had a measuring tape sometimes? You could just be like, I kind of thought that about you. And then Mary Poppins, when she measured herself, do you remember what it said? Practically perfect in every way. I often tell my kids that that's me. I'm practically perfect in every way. They haven't believed me yet, but I'm hoping if I say it enough times that eventually they'll think it's true. Although my kids would probably say I'm gaslighting them, which is a new modern word that I still don't completely understand. But practically perfect in every way. You have to use the right tape measure to see if your life is successful. I saw this recently on social media, these 2 tape measures. How many of you know if you're doing a job that requires precise cutting and your tape measure is off, every cut's going to be wrong, right? You can compare these two. If your tape measure starts off inaccurate, you're never going to get it right. You're going to think you're spot on. You're going to think your life is hitting the exact targets, but if you're measuring with the wrong thing, you're off every single time. So one of the things I want to encourage you to do, if you have kids, is as a family, you can get together and do this. If it's just you and your spouse, do it with them. If you're single or a widow, get together with the Lord. Do this together. Ask the Holy Spirit to come and be with you. But get a notebook, get a piece of paper, and have some conversations and decide what is important to us right now in this season of life. If you're a family with school-age kids, you might say, you know what, the most important thing for us is that we have family connection. And we want to make sure that we're connecting as a family. And one of the ways we feel like we're supposed to do that is to have family dinner 3 times a week. Well, now that's one of your tape measures to measure success. That if you're having a successful week, you have family dinner 3 times a week. How many of you know when you have those clear-cut measurements, then all of a sudden you know, okay, if I'm going to make this happen, I'm going to have to say no to some things, right? I might have to say no to the 18th sport my child wants to do this year. I might have to say no to my child, learning another musical instrument or whatever it might be. Why? Because you have some clear measurements of what success looks like. If you're a student and you're in school, maybe you're a junior like my daughter is, one of her goals is her academic success. And so she might have to say, you know what? During this year, I'm not going to work part-time. I worked part-time last year, but I can't this year because these are my goals. I'm not saying you don't have to work. You might still have to work, especially if you want a car. But when you begin to set up those measures of success and define what success looks like, it gives you that structure to know what I need to say no to. You might have to say no to picking up that overtime shift at work if being with your family is more important than your bank account, right? And there are different seasons for different areas, different times of your life. So, but it's an exercise that you should do regularly to make sure you're measuring your life the way you want it to be measured.